Hey everybody, this is the Apostates, episode 3. I am Ren, and she.
I am Dallas. Eric isn't here, so I've taken up the role of sipping a refreshing beverage and wearing an NFL sweatshirt.
That works, but I note you're wearing a Dolphins sweatshirt.
That's what we do here. It's 2 a time. This is what we do here.
I'm just wearing my Wrangler button down. I wore to work today. So we had big plans to talk a lot of policy stuff, foreign policy, finance, and then we have to talk about Kanye.
Oh God!
And because we have to talk about Kanye,
no, Jesus, titty fucking Christ!
Let's
just get this out there. Yeah, I just need, yeah.
I didn't want to talk about Kanye. No one wants to talk about Kanye.
Does anybody actually want to talk about Kanye at this point in his career? If we're going to talk about Kanye, we talk about the old Kanye, when Donda was alive Kanye, the late registration Kanye. That we talking about that that's the Kanye I tolerate talking about. This
Kanye, the doesn't care about black people Kanye.
Kanye
who was a conversation starter, but was otherwise harmless.
Yeah, regular Kanye.
But I don't know. I think what drives me up the wall the most about this was just that he re-enters the scene now. I mean, before it's with Candace Owens and he's going on with his anti-Semitism. Now he has gone full out with Nick Fuentes. And I don't know how many people in our audience are familiar with Nick Fuentes before this event.
Oh, boy.
If you've kept up with media criticism and, watching sort of little, right-wing kind of
the weird hyper racism via memes.
He is if you thought that Charlie Kirk was an extremist, he is. Nick Fuentes is basically Charlie Kirk's Charlie Kirk.
He is
a Holocaust denier, white nationalist. And the thing about it is you see a lot of these people, like these right-wing radio hosts and things like that, who will deny that they are white nationalists, and they will couch it in all these different code words and phrases, and they find a way to get around it, supporting the policies of white supremacy and things of that like. But Nick Fuentes is open, very open.
Very, very open.
So the gall of Kanye to just show up with Nick Fuentes. Now, I realize Donald Trump is a very friendly audience to things of that sort, Mr. Stand Back and Stand By. But just the actual goal to show up with this guy and to say, will you be my vice president?
Like, why?
I don't know.
Why? For me, it's more a matter of Nick Fuentes. First of all, the child is 24. I normally don't infantilize white men, but he's 24. Still lives with his parents. In other words, while on one hand, he is old enough to create organizations, and on one hand, he is old enough to organize and create organizations, and he is a man that does not have the worldly experience to back all of this shit up. No. This is a man that he is Catholic. and thinks that the entrenched evangelicals in power are going to surrender to a revanchist Catholic government. Like, he fell asleep during like at least a semester's worth of European history. It's not happening, honey.
Well, he likes certain parts of European history.
Yeah, he was awake, I think, for that last week in June where they recover the 1940, where they recover World War II.
Well, I think mostly what it comes down to is that Kanye West has become, and I know this may sound silly to certain people, but Kanye West has essentially become a Christian nationalist and a white nationalist. It seems it's something that's it's not something I say lightly, especially as a white person speaking on the experience of a black person. I don't want to do that, but the company he keeps.
I'm going to disagree. I don't think he probably sees himself as a white nationalist.
I don't think he sees himself as a white nationalist.
But the thing is, he got to watch the company he keeps. His campaign manager is, of all people, wait for it a little more. His campaign manager is Milo Yiannopoulos,
which is where I'm sort of getting my and his goals coincide pretty much. The circle is inside the circle with white nationalist goals. The idea of this is where the anti-Semitism sort of intersects, and the idea of them loving the idea of a Jewish ethno-state of Israel, so that the end times may come, and the white ethno-state can also be. This may not be where he is headed, but the anti-Semitism intersects very, very well with the white nationalism. And all his new friends with Nick Fuentes, hanging out with Tim Pool, hanging out with all of these people.
I wouldn't say he hung out with Tim Pool. He stuck his toe in the water when Tim Pool gave the most gentle of pushes. He bounced, which I find hilarious and shows he's not ready to roll with the big boys, because most jerk ass white nationalists I've seen, they stand their rather stupid shit-filled ground and hold on to whatever dumb ideals they're about ready to spew.
Tim Pool liked to put up a good game and pretend that he was standing on principle and saying that this anti-Semitism is not acceptable. But he has been pushing the polite and let's have a conversation with and let's couch it in more, acceptable terms version of anti-Semitism.
Oh, you mean that Ron DeSantis diet Trump white nationalism, anti-Semitism? Yeah, I said it.
Diet white nationalism. I'm sure that's
diet white nationalism. It's what's on tap. It's what's on tap of the governor's mansion, fam. It's what's on tap. He tries to act like he. All I know is that if Ron DeSantis doesn't want people to think that he's a bigot, he needs to stop doing shit bigots like. He keeps doing shit bigots like, and then is like, oh, me? Act, like a really shitty version of the innocent cat meme. No, I'm buying that shit.
Well, it's funny. God, I am wounded. How dare you, sir? Of the right now just bristling at saying that they are contributing to stochastic terrorism against LGBTQ people because of what happened at the club.
Oh, yeah, that's another thing. The I think days after we broadcasted something that 15 years ago, I would have been like, I don't know how I feel about this. Now I'm like, well, you had it coming. They vandalized the gates. I think did I mention this last week that they vandalized the gates of Focus on the Family?
Nope.
Okay, well, they vandalized the gates of Focus on the Family. And basically the group that did it said the families of the victims did not know we were going to do it. They didn't give us leave to do it. we just did it, and we felt that we did what needed to be done. And honestly, I want to agree with it. It's I don't really like violence, and I don't really like, things of this nature, but considering that Focus on the Family has been around since before both you and I were born, there's at least a generation and a half of kids who grew up with parents who slurped up every odious word out of James Dobson's mouth and have the therapy bills to prove it. That there's a generation of church surviving former evangelical gay LGBTQ kids that probably, if Focus on the Family did not reorganize itself as a church, they'd probably be liable for a whole lot of therapy bills and a couple of suicides.
I'm not the kind of person that says rah rah vandalism, but I also just can't be asked to care.
Yeah.
If someone brings up, this isn't the answer, or vandalism is only, there's, is blah blah blah, feel bad about this, and
they try
to go and take that to the Bureau of Unclaimed Fucks because I've got nothing to give to you.
I'm just saying that if vandalism is not the answer, but if you're questioning my existence, it just motherfucking might be.
There's this idea that we have to take ideologies in a vacuum and say that any idea is as good as another, and the reactions to those ideas also have to be as good as another.
And that is something that comes out of the comfort of the opinion not hinging on your existence or not. That comes from the comfort of not having to pray that 9 robed wizards aren't being unduly influenced to fuck with your rights on any given Tuesday.
And and of course it always comes about like, oh, the left's so violent. Now,
Are they now?
Granted, I wouldn't say that I'm on the left. I think every single Republican would say that I'm on the left, but I know actual avowed people who claim themselves to be socialists.
Samesies.
Get your capitalism light out of my out of my zone is what they would make. So it's sort of, when I say the people on the left are not.
They're really not.
The imagination as violent as what is going on with the right. Now, they will point to what happened with Brett Kavanaugh. And I say there was a threat against Sonia Sotomayor before that.
Facts.
So it's not, if we're saying it's 1-to-1, it's not 1-to-1, but I've got a 1-to-1 for every time they bring up an example of someone on the left.
Exactly.
When they talk about the congressional baseball game when Steve Scalise was shot, I say, okay, that was a leftist who did this. What about people who shot up the synagogue or the church or that black grocery store in New York? Or what about, it's on and on and on. This is not a thing. The violence is coming from inside the house. I stole it from you. I'm sorry. I had to.
Well, and it's like I said, it's all, when it comes to the right, almost all of it's coming from inside the house. The call is coming from inside the house. Right now, Auburn is in a little bit of a bind with their new football coach. The man loves his hookers. He's used school property to dial it. Like, has he not heard of a freakum phone? He sent enough men to the NFL who know about this. What? He did not think that he shouldn't have one. If you're gonna call hoes, you have a separate phone for hoes. You have a separate phone for sex workers. Because trust me, sex workers have a separate phone for your dumbass.
Well, who among us?
Who among us has not called a sex worker while at a school event while you were working for Liberty University? I swear, if I knew there was this much illicit sex and fuckery going on at Liberty, I would have actually applied.
The level of repression to the level of depravity is just
facts.
The more repressive it is. I'm sorry, I did the inverse version. The more repressed it is, the more depravity there is. It just is a way of life, because human beings at base are depraved, but you try to quash it and tell people that all of these things that you think and feel and want to do are wrong, it just boils up.
Was over.
Boils
Because
up.
I mean, I think about the fact that on one hand, Liberty did have some pretty strict rules. I'm mutual follows with with at one point, dude was a well-known Christian singer, went to Liberty. Like I think they were pretty strict as far as, obviously they were pretty strict as far as alcohol consumption. I think they even had like alcohol consumption. I think they were like about to kick the dude out for a beer or some shit like that. And I'm just like, have they not met you?
You know, when it comes to vice of any kind, and I don't like to use that word because it's got the negative connotation, but everything that falls under vice, if you try to quell it, if you try to quash it, if you try to suppress it, it will only come up more.
And it'll come up worse too. Like I said, as I said last week about what's her face, Libs of TikTok. She's out. That woman has probably not saved a damn child. She hasn't saved a damn child. She hasn't saved a damn child. I'm pretty sure of it. She's probably traumatized more children than helped. And in the end, it's not about the children.
It never
was about the children. It was just about an opportunity to hate on rando gay people, LGBTQ people who were doing absolutely nothing just to prove she could. I don't know who hurt her.
If they
make
are
her do this.
If they are true believers, if she is a true believer, then their belief is that there's no such thing as a child who will naturally grow up to be gay or trans or any version of the LGBTQ spectrum. And that's just nuts. They like to say things like, you don't find this in nature. I'm like, hey.
Have you met bats? Have you met bonobos? Have you met dolphins? Have you met hyenas?
Frogs. Fucking frogs.
I know about the frogs. The frogs are
new. Frogs, they've got the species of frog that changes its sex.
Oh yeah, frogs and lizards. Like, do not tell me that cannot be found in nature. There's at least one or two animals per group that does something that would make us go, but why? I mean, giraffes technically do things that we as humans would consider water sports. A male giraffe will taste a female giraffe's urine in order to see if she's in heat. Congratulations. Today you learned this.
Is it safe?
You can come out now.
Okay.
We're done.
So I think we might have to go a little back. We've gone off topic. But we might have
let's go back to the whole, like I said, Nick Fuentes is a man of more bark than bite. He himself, I would not be worried about. It's the people that follow him and platform him is what I would be concerned with. When a boy like Fuentes, and I said boy, when a boy like Fuentes catches the eye of someone like Peter Thiel, we're fucked. And don't think that I'm firmly convinced that they have already had conversations.
That's the thing about the platforming. That's the thing about bringing Nick Fuentes to Donald Trump. And that's the thing about bringing him on Tim Pool's show. People like to think, and this goes back to the idea of ideology existing in a vacuum and people thinking that any idea can be debated on its merits. Not something as insidious as bigotry against Jews or as gays. You bring that to the table and it is used. You can't have a good faith argument with these people. They don't use factual logic. They don't use anything that can be considered good faith arguments. They exist to propagate their ideas, and they do that by having their platform. the idea, it's anti-Semitism is it spreads by volume. It spreads, and the idea that you would bring someone like that to the president of the United States is, I mean, Kanye West himself is anti-Semitic, but we don't know how. He doesn't consider himself anti-Semitic.
And the thing is, anti-Semitic, this is going to sound weird, but I've always considered anti-Semitism the mother hatred. It's the mother hatred. It's the mother hatred, and anti-Blackness is its sister. So I've always been convinced that anti-Semitism is the mother hatred. It's the hatred from which you get homophobia. It is the hatred from which you get transphobia. It is the hatred from which you get anti-Zeganism, anti-indigenous thought. It's the idea of supplanting. It's either the idea of supplanting the Jews. It's the idea of either supplanting, destroying, out of fear that they're going to destroy us first.
There's this. There's this undercurrent with the whole, great replacement theory kind of thing. This just idea that is already on its face ridiculous, that your identity as white is a thing, a commodity, that as it exists as a culture is something that can be replaced. When we are all going to be replaced, we all die.
Yeah, and it's the thing is, and if whiteness is a commodity, it's because white people made it a commodity. When y'all did this to yourselves.
Well, when they say, we're being replaced, I'm like, no one's killing you. No one's killing you. No one's doing anything. We were talking before the show about Arizona and specifically, the county of Mojave in Arizona. I've spent a bit of time in my life in Arizona. I love Arizona. Yeah. Mojave County is in the northwest corner, the northwest side of Arizona. It shares no borders with Maricopa County. And yet they had to delay certification of their own election results because people were showing up to protest and argue against, because of irregularities they believed were happening in Maricopa County. And when you and I looked into it, and we saw that the county seat of Mojave County was a sundown town.
Yep, Kingman, Arizona.
Where 30 years ago, a fraction of a percent of the population were Black. And in those last 30 years, the population has exploded significantly. However, it has exploded more, if you could call it that, in the proportion of Black residents. Now, they actually make up almost 2% of the population.
Oh, Lord, they're coming.
Aha! It's hard to express how, you have a town like that is a relatively small city, just tens of thousands now.
Yeah.
2% of it is Black. And you have people who believe that, people of different colors, different races, different backgrounds are coming to replace you. Nobody's replacing shit. You're still alive. All those people who were there before are there now. You're worried about whiteness being replaced, but you are not being replaced.
And the thing is, it's not as much they're worried about whiteness being replaced. I think what it is, it's a primal fear that when they are replaced, that they will be treated the same way they treated us.
Like
that I think that is the fear.
Like that Louis C.K. bit. We're not going from number 1 to number 2. When we fall, we're going to fall hard.
And I think that's something that they know, and I think that's something that people know in their hearts. That's probably why you have things like conflating critical race theory with just teaching history.
That's the thing that it's all branding. It's Christopher Rufo found a way to rebrand what is essentially a framework of legal doctrine that they teach at law schools. And I know, people may get used to this as a talking point against the hysteria of critical race theory. Listen, I went to law school and I even took courses on the Equal Rights Amendment, its origins, and discrimination thereafter. And we learned about things like restrictive covenants and Shelley versus Kramer and Washington v. Davis and all of these decisions and laws that have built racism into the fabric. That is some shit that you learn at an advanced
stage. Yeah.
That is not teaching children that slavery existed and it became a racial institution. People don't like to hear that. Ron DeSantis, I'm sorry, cover your virgin ears. But
oh God,
a racial institution in order to perpetuate and keep it the way it was. And then where it was sunny days and sunshine and smiles.
Well, I actually bought DeSantis's book. I'm mentally preparing myself to read it because I do want to share its, I don't want to say insights because I don't think it got any of that.
We should do an episode where we read passages of it.
Oh God, that's gonna be horrid. I'm gonna definitely need a lot more alcohol in order to get through that shit. And I'm once again, and the amount of apologies I'm going to have to make in order to explain that this short round assemblage of cytoplasm and skin came from our state.
Man. Sure,
not our proudest moment.
At Yale, though.
Huh?
Sure loves to talk about his time at Yale, though.
Listen, the Ivy League. The Ivy League is just producing idiots and pseudo white nationalists. But then again, it probably always did that. We just didn't want to notice it.
Well, that's the thing about Ivy League schools and schools in general. I have mentioned, going to law school and stuff like that. I'm not saying it to say, oh, look at me, I went to law school. My school was unranked, first of all, so it's not exactly,
Yeah.
But also, it's just to mention that I have a little bit of knowledge in a certain, very specific area. The other part of it is education. It's gatekeeping more than anything.
It can be, yeah.
It is class and racial warfare for the most part, and you have a system where you have a lot of incredibly intelligent people who have never had access to education, and you have a lot of really fucking stupid people who have a very highly educated background. Tucker Carlson.
But are absolute fucking ninnies. Yeah.
I often wonder, am I accidentally doing Tucker Carlson face?
You know what? I think you would need a little bit more wrinkles and dickishness to have that face. That's a certain kind of face that just ranks just below Richard Spencer's for punchability. The only reason Richard Spencer's ranks higher is because I've seen that face get punched, and it looks very punchable.
Oh yeah, I watched it on repeat. It's just like you can't look away.
You really can't. It's a beautiful moment, honestly.
I don't know. I'm firmly in the school of thought that maybe at this point in history, it's not right to punch Nazis. Let me finish. Not because I think Nazis shouldn't be punched, but because I think they should be humiliated.
Okay. I'm willing to hear that one out. And for me, it's like humiliation. There's a lot of different kinds of humiliation. So it's like, which humiliation? Are we talking just basic public humiliation? Do we
ridicule, throwing eggs, like doing mostly harmless, like embarrassed, pantsing them type shit? And the reason is not because I don't think their ideology is existential threat. It's because they use violence against them to their advantage.
True.
it's something that the Nazis did very well in the late 20s, as they were rising to power, because they met with great resistance in certain areas of the country, and they were from the communists, and they were able to parlay that into growth, into more support. And so I think at this point in our history, some eggs, some, like milkshakes.
Yeah. I mean, for me, it's like I understand. Yeah, for me, it's more like a little actually humiliation, showing them as not serious people, because it seems the first thing they are dying to do is be taken seriously.
Which is, again, goes back to the platforming.
And I guess that's why I consider Fuentes may be legally an adult. He may be legally an adult he may be an adult in the eyes of the law, but he is a man of no life experience. Tell the world what to do.
I mean, I'm sure that whatever happens between him and consenting cat people will.
Sorry, oh my god, cat people. My inner Dragula super monster just went at that.
You made me forget what I was going to say now.
I'm sorry. I'm just saying. I just felt my inner Erica Clash just go, no!
Something about him being charged as an adult. Something. No! So, oh god, fuck him. God. So that's just it. Nazis and white supremacists, white nationalists, Christian nationalists, they don't deserve to be platformed, and they deserve to be ridiculed. You are not going to be able. What happens when you say, I want to debate you on your terms, or any terms, is there's not going to be a good faith debate. They are going to spread their toxic nonsense. So don't give them a platform. Ridicule them. Mock them. And if they gain any semblance of power, the punching can start.
And also passive aggressiveness is also, I always believe in using every weapon in the book, especially, white people have taught us well, passive aggressiveness has been your main weapon for hundreds of years. That's always good. I'm a fan of a little passive aggressiveness, malicious compliance, especially if the ends of both of these are humiliation.
I do like malicious compliance. I think
malicious compliance is
the pettiest of petty bullshit.
It is. But I followed the rules, didn't I? Yeah, malicious compliance is a wonderful thing.
There's also this sort of malicious retaliation that may be happening to some good effect with that Ron DeSantis basically trafficking those migrants to Martha's Vineyard.
Like I said, I'm looking forward to see what he's going to do, because here's the thing with Ron DeSantis that people who live in Florida know that we're hoping everyone else understands. He may be a book smart man, but he is not an emotionally smart man.
I mean, we saw
Ron DeSantis
snapped at those kids behind him.
Ron DeSantis is a man who does not do well under pressure. He does not have the affinity, affable jokester. He's going to have to be taught that. And I don't think he's old. I don't think he's young enough to learn. I don't think he's young enough or flexible enough to learn the affable jokester, that he's not going to be able to wrap his hate up in humor. He does not have that. He does not have that gift.
He doesn't have a sense of humor. And you look at that Top Gun video, shows that he is somebody
that was
way seriously of himself.
Way too. And I wanted to be like, all I could think was Tom Cruise did not deserve this.
There's very few things Tom Cruise doesn't deserve, but he doesn't deserve
it. He didn't deserve that. I'm like, Thomas.
By the way, I will go. This is an aside that has nothing to do with politics, but I will go out on a limb and defend him as an actor when given the right material to anybody. I'm happy to have that discussion. Just saying. And you know what? War of the Worlds. I fucking.
War of the Worlds was trash.
It was not trash.
It was trash.
Was just fantastic. He upended his entire career of playing cocky, absolutely confident, amazing people by playing this pathetic deadbeat who all he wants to do is get his children to their mom because he doesn't fucking know how to do shit.
I'm gonna have to watch that again and give a reassessment, because honestly, War of the Worlds bored me. There were some really cool things that they did, but it was cool things that were going on around his character. The kids were annoying. I was just like, bitch, can somebody just die? I'm tired.
I mean, yeah.
I mean, maybe he was trying to deal with his little Xenu issues or whatever, but I really was not feeling War of the Worlds.
But are you with me on Collateral and Magnolia, at least?
Okay, Collateral. I actually have still never seen Magnolia, but I will grant you Collateral. He was actually terrifying in Collateral. If I ran into Vincent, I would piss myself and run, even though that is a futile gesture. I'm sorry. I don't know whether it was the fact that he only had like maybe 12 lines in the whole thing. I don't know, but apparently give him salt and pepper hair and a willingness to kill people, and you've gotten amazingly terrifying.
Look, if someone spends their entire adult life pretending to be a human being, they're a great actor.
This is true. I still feel very. I feel like if you give him less to say and more to do, that's where he actually becomes good.
That's the Mark Wahlberg rule, I believe.
But Mark Wahlberg can't act.
With the right material.
I'm trying to think, what was the right material for Mark Wahlberg?
Departed.
That's true. Give him something where he can be as Boston as possible without being racist, and he'll do fine.
You know, I think maybe let's take an aside from politics for a second.
I'm sorry, I had to ride Mark Wahlberg just a bit.
Let's talk about that for a second, because Mark Wahlberg cost a human being their eye.
Yeah.
Nobody is making him do an apology tour.
G-tour.
Doing
for Will Smith, who slapped, not punched, not hit, slapped, an open-handed slap to a man who spent his time verbally bullying his wife/main partner.
I'm just going to say one phrase, and everybody who grew up and lived an early life in the 90s will remember. I'm not saying he should have killed her, but I understand.
Exactly. I'm like, Chris Rock knows he had that coming. Chris Rock knows that slap was coming. He didn't know from whom, and he didn't know from where. The fact that at that moment, Will Smith decided not to give another damn about it and just walk up and slap him. And then there's poor Lupita Nyong'o just sitting there like,
I feel so bad for her.
Oh God, poor Lupita. Look, she ain't need to see all that.
Like, I'm not saying Will Smith should have slapped him.
I don't know. All I'm saying is that Chris Rock was going to be slapped by somebody at some point. It just happened to be somebody he knew.
I think
in front of everyone they both knew.
I think Sean Penn, everyone knows that he abused Madonna.
Yeah.
Didn't have to go through an apology tour.
Didn't have to apologize for a goddamn thing.
I mean, there's video of David O. Russell calling Lily Tomlin the C word. No one has ever asked him to apologize for it.
Facts. There are people who will still go to the mat for Roman Polanski.
The Academy gave him a standing ovation, and I think was 2004.
I remember that. That was in our bad old days, fam. I remember that. I was mad at everybody.
Yep, Meryl Streep was giving him, a round of applause.
I was just like, Meryl, Meryl, baby, what is you doing?
There are still people working for Woody Allen.
Yeah, there are people who would break at least 3 of their fingers to work with Woody Allen.
But and you know what? I'm just gonna say that. Look. I'm one of those assholes who calls themselves a cinephile. I love movies. I love all movies. I will watch the absolute most pretentious ass artsy fartsy movies.
Yeah, you are.
French movies, Japanese movies, Swedish movies, whatever. I am telling you, Woody Allen has 3 good movies in a 50-year career. Fucking Annie Hall, Radio Days, and some other movie I fucking forget.
Wow, the fact that you can't even remember all 3 of his best movies just says something.
I remember enjoying another. I think it was one that everybody hated, but I thought was cute. It was some, I don't know. But the point is, you know, if we're supposed to separate art from the artist, Will Smith is a great artist. So let's just stop with the shit. And also, Woody Allen is not that great. So let's also stop pretending he is.
Yeah, it's like, listen, there was right in 2020, everyone was all Black Lives Matter. And then I saw people saying protect Black women at all costs. And I took them at their word. When they said protect Black women at all costs, I took them at their word. And when protect Black women at all costs got a little rough and unconventional, oh, now it's a problem.
There's also, I think...
Now it's a problem?
There's also the matter of people are willing to forgive a lot of really horrible shit.
True.
I remember you and I talking about Kevin Spacey and how years ago there was that story of him getting mugged in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
And we were kind of like, there's some shit up with this guy.
Very much so. We were like, Miss Fowler, Miss Kevin Spacey Fowler has some shit that she needs to go through. We don't know what's going on with her, but Miss Spacey.
We found out some very unsavory things about Kevin Spacey, and while he did not lose that court case recently,
no.
I think I'm far more willing to believe Anthony Rapp than Kevin Spacey, especially.
Yes.
You know, and he just booked his next movie.
What?
Yeah, he just booked another movie. Mel fucking Gibson.
Oh, Lord have mercy. I'm going to tell you right now, we as a culture stand for the wrong white male actor director with blue eyes of the 1990s. We need to apologize to Kevin motherfucking Costner right now. Oh, we need to apologize to that man.
You haven't heard my fuck your anti-Dances with Wolves bullshit rant.
I mean, I've got a lot of opinions about Dances with Wolves. It's not my favorite Kevin Costner outing, but in the long run, there's a lot more to forgive with Dances with Wolves. There's a lot more to forgive. We can forgive.
The criticisms of that movie fall on its face because there are a lot of people who want to lump it in with Avatar and Last of the Mohicans and call it this sort of like mighty whitey savior, wannabe savior story.
Yeah.
But spoiler alert for Dances with Wolves, the point is he loses. The point is everything fails. The point is that nothing he does is of any consequence because he cannot control and fix the systemic nature of the horde of his brethren, of his fellow white
people,
conquerors coming to destroy the Lakota. He fails. It isn't a mighty whitey story. It is
really not.
The fact that not one individual can fix a systemic idea. He fails. This is not Avatar. This is like not some story of or what was the other one? The cartoon, Fern Gully. This is not.
It's the fall of the Roman Empire, but even more depressing.
It is basically the story of a guy who fucking wishes he could do something and can't. And in much the same way that Gone with the Wind is 4 hours of nothing good happening and nothing of any consequence changing anything
Yeah.
about the outcome. Dances with Wolves is the same thing. I've seen the 4-hour cut of the movie. It is marvelous. It is breathtaking. It is not any of the things people who like to
All I know is that Waterworld aged a hell of a lot better now. Waterworld has aged very well.
Yeah, because Kevin Costner never went on camera and audio and all the different times that Mel Gibson has been recorded and witnessed saying horrible things. There's like 3 separate incidents in 20 years, and he comes back every time. Maybe not to the what women want level of fame that he used to have, but he is still getting work. Meanwhile, people are saying, "Are you ready for Will Smith?" I'm ready. I'm ready for Will Smith. You know what?
Bitch, I'm ready for. Bitch, I'm always ready. Bitch,
they gave Louis C.K. a fucking Grammy Award last year.
That too. I'm sorry. I'm ready for Will Smith. I'm okay with Will Smith. Let's put it like this. Unfortunately, because Chadwick Boseman is no longer with us, more people are probably more ready for Will Smith than they care to admit. I said what I said. I'm not taking it back. Because unfortunately, Hollywood can only handle one Black male superstar at a time. It can't compute more than one.
So is it Jonathan Majors now? Is he the one now?
I don't think Jonathan Majors is the one yet. Yet. Will Smith has an interruption on his road to elder statesmanhood. Denzel Washington is already at elder statesmanhood. We know this.
Idris Elba's getting there too, and that's
Yeah, Idris Elba never was a huge star, but a lot of people liked him. He's also kind of going around the mountain and still making it to elder statesmanhood.
He missed his chance to be James Bond. He's too old
at
this point, but
I still say he would make an amazing M. He would make an amazing M.
Daniel Kaluuya. He is not too old to be James Bond.
You right.
And as villains, Jonathan Majors as the major villain, and his henchman, Lakeith Stanfield.
I would love to see Jonathan Majors and Lakeith Stanfield as a villain henchman duo for a James Bond film. That would be actually amazing. I would love to see Lakeith do that. Even the fact that, listen, even as something as silly as Knives Out. I love Knives Out. Hell, I even love Lakeith in Knives Out. Even in the background, not saying a whole hell of a lot behind Daniel Craig, it was still awesome. Huh?
Lakeith, I'm going to give you 3 movies of Lakeith Stanfield, right? Uncut Gems, Knives Out. Fuck, I forget the third. Get Out.
Sorry. I was going to say Sorry to Bother You, but that's because Call Center Solidarity. That one hit me in places I didn't even know existed.
Here's the thing. All 3 supporting characters. They don't have a lot of room. But the thing is, do you recognize him from one movie to the other?
No.
Those 3 movies, do you look at his face and say, I recognize him from the other movies? You can't. He is the ultimate. He is like that sort of Daniel Day-Lewis-y kind of chameleon.
Yeah, he's that dude. He is that dude. It's just people don't really notice it because he is in the background.
He needs to be the scene-stealing henchman. That's why I say he shouldn't be the main villain.
He can't.
The guy you can't wait to see on screen because,
he's fucking hilarious. There's just something about him. It's either he's fucking hilarious unintentionally or he's hilarious and sadistic. Let's put it like that. We need him to be the Benicio del Toro. Because remember, Benicio del Toro was in License to Kill and he was not. You did not forget him.
You're asking me. You're asking me if I forgot anything about any James Bond movie ever.
Benicio del Toro in License to Kill, that was slept on. That people sleep on that little moment, but I'm sorry, that man.
Sanchez!
I'm sorry. The actor who plays Sanchez is a right-wing goon now, but let me tell you, that one was that I loved and hated that one.
I think maybe not great cinema, but great Bond. One of the best.
Which one?
License to Kill. I'd give it 3 out of 4 stars.
I'm still mentally wedded to Octopussy. There's something about Octopussy
that I think people want to laugh at, want to hate, and you don't get that it's such a great friggin' movie. And the fact that they can have Bond in a clown costume and
you still Bond is in a clown costume and you still take the whole thing fucking seriously. That is a gift. That's a gift. You cannot teach that. That is like that's a very, 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 very small needle to thread.
While we're on the subject, Elon Musk, Max Zorin.
I'm gonna need a moment while I compute that. That is sick. I'm gonna yell at roommate. I'm gonna yell at the roommate what you just said. Elon Musk, Max Zorin. He did the nod. He's feeling it.
I mean, the whole Silicon Valley thing.
The whole Silicon Valley, the bullshit, the airship. The airship. That is some Elon shit. It's like this. It makes no goddamn sense, but isn't it cool? The man, I mean, Zorin's a megalomaniac, a weird looking Zorin is a weird looking megalomaniac with a harem of women that think they love him, but in reality, they probably don't. Maybe Mayday's the only one that actually does love him, but she's crazy.
Grimes is one of them.
Yeah, I can act. Yeah, that's the thing. Like Elon 100% makes sense as Zorin, and Grimes is just right there.
It's a terrible fucking movie, but
is it though?
It is.
Now that we find something to look at here that makes a lot of sense, it's like if it makes sense now, is it really terrible?
I mean, yeah, but it's at least relatable. Look.
Yeah, that's probably what it is. I'm confusing relatability for actual good.
I am the ultimate James Bond fan. I will watch all of them, even the really terrible ones, like A View to a Kill, like Moonraker, and I'm sorry, I'm sure some people love it, Diamonds to Kill, and Diamonds Are Forever. And
the theme song was really the only thing I can say was really wonderful about it.
Yeah, it sucks. And Goldfinger. Yes, Goldfinger was not a good movie. I don't know if I can to the mat for that. You know what? War of the Worlds with Tom Cruise, more enjoyable than Goldfinger.
Wow, I don't even know what to say to that.
You know why? Because Bond spends the entire movie just fucking neutered. Doesn't do anything. Just gets carried along by circumstances. Doesn't accomplish anything. Doesn't succeed at anything. In fact, fails at most everything he does.
Except the big thing, and that's only because he was only helped by a bisexual woman who just decided that she was going to be nice that day.
And then, even then, he couldn't even fulfill.
He couldn't even destroy the bomb. I think she did it.
Nope, his handlers and
his CIA handlers did it. I'm like, Bond didn't do a damn thing. It was a bisexual woman in a group and a series of coincidences. It was chaotic.
It is a Shaggy Dog story, but less entertaining.
It's like now that I think about it, it's like if Pussy Galore decided not to help him, decided that the dick did not meet expectations, he would have been dead.
So you're saying it's a quality assurance issue?
Yeah. He managed to lay it on her just right. The reason I am considering her bisexual is because, or maybe she is situationally bisexual. I don't know. I don't want to discount her queerness whatsoever.
All I am saying is that Bond spent the entire movie as a spectator. And that's true. Is why. And the thing is, the reason why, and I think there's a parallel here with War of the Worlds, is that Tom Cruise spends much of the movie as a spectator. But
That's true.
The difference is that is the point of his character, is that he is a deadbeat who has to rise to the occasion. And Bond is a supposed super spy who spent the entire movie failing at what he does. And it's not like with Indiana Jones, who fails a lot in his movie.
Yeah, but the thing is, Indiana Jones fails a lot, but
he comes through in the end, and his knowledge saves him.
Yeah.
Bond is basically just the super spy who fucks up and
who happens to fuck up at all the right times
in that movie, in that specific movie.
Yeah,
it's one of my least favorite of the Bond movies. You know, and I will say, like, you know, if you were to go through my favorites, you've got From Russia with Love, On Her Majesty's Secret Service. You know,
that one's painful for me.
Emotionally,
but it makes sense, and it's so realistic. It makes a lot of sense. That in other words, I hate it, but I like it. I hate it, but I like it. I hate it, but I like it because it makes sense.
I like the personal ones better, the ones that really, you know, mean something. God, we really got off track. I mean, I blame myself for.
Well, I mean, like I said, that off track is a lot. Off track can mean a lot of things, namely the fact that the RNC is about to do another autopsy. I don't even know why they wasting the money on this.
It's basically, yeah. Unfortunately, you know, I don't want to get into all these stories because these stories are really just annoying. But yeah, the RNC is about to do another autopsy, like they did in what was it, 2012 with their
they had an autopsy. The autopsy made some points saying, hey, listen, you need to start appealing to younger people. You need to stop being so fucking intolerant. You need to re-examine your racism. You need to think about how you're going to appeal to, you know, people of color, you know, BIPOC people, how you're going to appeal to women. And you need to really think about these things, sit with yourselves and do some introspection. They were like, nah. Why? And now they're going to have another one, which will probably say the exact goddamn same thing. But here's the thing. Guess who's on the panel?
Oh, God, I'm not going to like this.
Tony Perkins.
See, when you say that name, all I can think of is the actor, Tony Perkins.
I know. No, but it's not the wonderful, dearly departed Tony Perkins. It's the horrible, still alive Tony Perkins.
I'm going to expose my own ignorance and say that I don't actually know that Tony Perkins.
He is one of the people who runs the Family Research Council.
Of course.
The policy arm of Focus on the Family.
Is L. Brent Bozell going to be there too?
No, but Blake Masters will be.
Of course he fucking is. These people have no self-awareness. With the amount, all that anti-trans, anti-gay groomer shit succeeded only in Florida. Everywhere else, they hyped that up. Every other state, Michigan, Arizona, everywhere, it fell flat on its face. And the reason it succeeded in Florida is because Democrats abandoned Florida.
Yes, they did, and I really don't understand. Oh, guess who else is on this panel?
Oh, God. Who else is on the panel?
Kellyanne Conway.
Of course.
Of course.
Her and her husband, George, and the whole weird dynamic they have going on.
Yeah, and they got their designated token as Representative-elect John James.
I don't even know who that is.
Exactly. He's just there to say that they have a black guy. See, we are listening to black people. Yeah.
Oh, my face. The entire universe could come together and give them, one by one, every celestial angel and every person in universe, the entire combined knowledge could tell them, here's what you did wrong. They'll put it in their little report, and then they just won't follow it.
Of course not. And of course, not in to top it all off, Ronna McDaniel is going to be experiencing a challenge to her seat from, wait for it,
My Pillow guy.
Yup.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they are going in. They are going all in. They are truly going all in.
They are going deeper and deeper. And this goes right to the issue of why I am no longer a Republican. And I want to say this deeply to anybody who is still there. I am a person who is not, I am not a socialist. I am not a communist. People who call me that. Former friend of mine called me a socialist and accused me of taking payments from George Soros because I didn't like
And I still don't know where mine are.
And I am going to tell you that it is you who moved further and further and further. And a lot of people on the left, people who, will say that the Republicans have always been this bad. They have.
To a degree, yes. But they didn't let those elements run the party. The cancer was always there.
It
just was
away from the far right. But at the same time, the Republicans have also moved further right.
All I got to say is the cancer was always there. Just while the Democrats have at least tried to occasionally make it to the doctor's appointments and most of the time follow the prescription, but don't really follow the prescription. They try to follow the diet. In other words, they're out here making efforts. The Republicans just said, fuck all that. We got this. Emancipation Proclamation, Abraham Lincoln, and move the fuck on.
When I got home from work, I hadn't seen whether the vote had occurred on the bill to basically codify as much as possible, gay marriage, racial marriage. Have you seen that? Has the vote actually happened? Because I know there were
the vote did happen.
They voted on the amendments around the time I left work.
No, but I think they did vote on the marriage protection. Let me find out.
Because I want to just get. I know it's a cliche to say, it's X year now, get with the times. But there is a certain element of truth to it. And the sheer number of Republicans in opposition to this bill, and they will claim it's something like, we don't need this because the Supreme Court already, oh God, what's the answer?
Okay, so they voted 61-35. It's to defeat a filibuster that would have prevented the bill from going forward. Final approval is gonna. Oh yeah, so it already voted. So they did that, and they did that. Let's see. They did that. That was yesterday. Let's see what they did today.
While you're looking,
61-36.
36 Republican senators voted against codifying. And one of the things they will say is they will try to couch it in the idea that we don't need this. This is unnecessary because the Supreme Court already codified it, despite the fact that, they already codified the right to, states couldn't curb and prevent people from getting abortions. And stare decisis doesn't mean shit. So, people like Ron Johnson bringing that up and that whole argument.
No, I'm looking at Mike Lee's page.
And we're talking about, too, some people say it doesn't go far enough with your religious liberties, even though the religious liberties are the same as those as already exist. Nobody's, this bill doesn't do anything to lessen the religious liberties and objections to state rights that already exist. In fact, the bill doesn't even require that states perform gay marriages, just that they recognize those that are made. So the bill doesn't even go as far as Obergefell. So the idea is that it's at this date and this time, after everything, the Republican Party is still so vehemently against people who are LGBTQ getting married.
It's exhausting.
That's just not a party that makes any goddamn sense.
And at this point, it's the idea that after a certain point, you can only legislate so much into somebody's lives. You can only legislate so much into someone's life And if you are the party of small government, there should be a point where you should say this far and no further. It should be at the point of the engagement ring. It should be the point of the doctor's office. If you believe in small government, as they claim to, it should be at the schoolroom door.
A lot of it is so situational, and that's what
But
over time.
I no longer believe that. I really want the Republican Party to finally admit they no longer believe in small government. They no longer believe in the only individual liberty they believe in is that of white men to own guns.
They certainly don't believe in lowering the deficit.
No, they don't.
Eliminating debt. They certainly don't believe in small government unless it's about. They do believe in small government for stuff that affects them.
Small government in that in child marriage. Representative Rose of Tennessee, I'm looking at you and your wife that's young enough to be your child. I'm looking at like this is a party that is now trying to figure out a way to embrace its authoritarian side without scaring off the normies. And to be quite honest, I think they're using the hysteria. I think they're using people's ignorance and innate disgust born out of ignorance toward LGBTQ people, their fear and ignorance and shame when it comes to racism. And they're using religion in all of them, but especially when it comes to sexism. This is a party that is going to transition out of believing in democracy, at least by the time this presidential cycle starts.
We've already seen it with the way that people want to have Trump at the lead, want to have Carrie Lake installed as governor of Florida.
Of what?
Governor of Arizona. Excuse me.
I'm like, I don't need another one. We already got somebody running hell world.
She floated at one point the secession of Florida, or God damn it, the secession of Arizona. Excuse me. And all I've got to say is, bitch, where does Arizona get its water?
California, I believe.
Colorado.
Oh.
Used to see.
I thought it was.
You think Jared Paulus is going to be like, let's just let it flow?
No, Miss Paulus at some point gonna be like, listen, bitch, not tonight.
So, I have. I'm a very moderate person. If you go to the sort of global scale of left and right, I'm pretty much. I'm very globally centered. Still within the realm of capitalism, but definitely very pro-union, pro-social safety net, people shouldn't fucking starve to death. And the thing is, that is considered communist by so much of the Republican Party that I don't see myself voting for a single Republican for a very long time.
At this point, I really don't see myself voting for a single Republican at any time because they've made it clear that they are not the party. They are not the party that I supported.
No, and to be quite frank, I mean, whether they were always this bad or whether they've shifted further and further right, there's always arguments about it. Either way, it's untenable where they are now. So let's not even split hairs about whether they were this bad when Reagan was president. They weren't, by the way, because Reagan was pro-amnesty and like all sorts of shit.
That's true. That is true.
Now, whether all their other positions were acceptable, now we can have that debate. I am not going to have that debate because I don't support the horrible, horrible, horrible positions of the Reagan administration.
Yeah, that the whole leaving whole chunks of American population to die from AIDS was not his brightest moment.
Globally, I am in the center. But as far as America goes, I am firmly within the left. But I don't consider myself a leftist because, I mean, basically, we have shifted so far to the right as a
Yeah, I think you'd probably be what probably more communistic people would call shit libs. Oh,
country.
the ones that the shit libs establishment.
See, that's it. I don't know. I don't know. I still fucking hate a lot of establishment Democrats and corporate Democrats and a lot of them. And Nancy Pelosi, gotta fucking hate Nancy Pelosi.
I think a lot of people hate Nancy, and they just don't want to have that conversation.
I think more what I want to do is stress to the people who exist out there who are Republicans or are disaffected Republicans that the definition of left as given to you by Republicans is horseshit. You are not a leftist if you think people should have the ability to have some fucking dignity. I don't want to get into a whole long thing, so I won't.
Yeah,
We will have this on future episodes.
of course.
We're over our time, but
we are.
I just want to say that to the people who are on the left, who I consider my friends, I am definitely much more of you than I am of them. And the people on the right who consider me a commie, I'm fucking not. Have you met a commie?
Have you?
Right. That's pretty much it.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. Before we go, do you have any final thoughts?
No, not right now. I mean, right now I'm not right now. Not yet. Not tonight.
Well, we're going to end this broadcast, but before we do, I have some breaking news. It looks like Henry Kissinger is somehow still alive.
I swear to God, ain't nothing gonna be left but that man and Cher.
Good night, everybody.